I know it's a really annoying time at the moment when it comes to training. Lack of equipment, lack of gyms, obviously everywhere's shut, and you're stressing about the fact that you can't work out and kind of stressing about going backwards on the work that you've already done and the gains that you've already made. So I'm going to give you 4 of my biggest tips when it comes to training and kind of maintaining progress and muscle mass and everything else that comes with it during this time when we can't go to the gym. Tip number 1, volume. So when we talk about volume, we're talking about the amount of tension that you're putting on the muscle groups, the amount of repetitions, and thus the amount of stress and stimulus that you're going to end up on that muscle group in the end. So what I mean by that is basically when it comes to whatever movement you pick, whether it be push-ups, squats, shoulder press, whatever you've got, obviously we're going to assume that the weight that you normally would use isn't there unless you're really lucky and have got a lot of home gym equipment. So in place of that, you need to up your volume, do lots and lots of repetitions, get to the point where you burn, get to the point where you just have to really put a lot more effort into those repetitions to get the same kind of stimulus out of them. That then leads us on to our next point, which will be the mind-muscle connection. So you might have heard this a lot of times before by other coaches and online and whatever. So you really want to think about, obviously, when those movements that you are doing, the amount of volume you are doing, each one of them repetitions, you need to really think about the muscle you're trying to work, squeeze it, contract it, squeeze the blood flow through it, and try and do your best to kind of get a pump, okay? And what's gonna happen from that is you're gonna kind of maximize the stimulus through that individual muscle group, meaning you're gonna get a little more out of it. The rule is very simple. If you can't physically feel it in that select muscle that you're trying to work, odds are you're probably not working it. So now more than ever, you really need to focus on that contraction, really pinch hard, bite hard, squeeze, and get as much out of it as you can. A good way to judge if you're really getting the most out of that repetition or that movement is the burn you get at the end of your set. So ideally you want to still be going to the point where it aches and it hurts. If you've got resistance bands, it's fantastic. If not, you can achieve this with body weight stuff. You just got to do a lot more repetitions, really slow the movement down, focus on the contractions rather than pumping out reps, pause at the bottom, do different timings in terms of tempo, just really get more out of each repetition. Finally, think outside the box. So not everything that you normally do is possible when you're at home. However, you'd be surprised if you really kind of sat down and thought about it, how much you kind of simulate. So for example, my lats were a biggest thing I was worried about not hitting while at home because I just had no way to do any sort of lat pull down or a pull up. However, I found that wrapping a resistance band over quite a high point of leverage, leaning myself over and pulling my elbows down onto my side, I built myself a lat pull down. So just be creative, think outside the box. Use a few kind of things that might look a little bit silly for weights. You might have paving slabs, you might have buckets, you might have, I don't know, you could have anything, plant pots, anything like that nature, just to kind of increase that stimulus as long as it's safe. Just a couple of things to reassure you. So you probably are going to lose a little bit of muscle in this period of not being able to go to the gym, simply down to the stimulus that you'd normally use not being available. However, bear in mind, it normally takes 3 or 4 weeks for muscle to kind of deteriorate and start to waste away. If you keep on top of that and try and do a little bit of training at home, keep their muscle fibers pumped and firing up and keep them active, you're going to prolong that a lot longer and you're going to be more likely to retain a lot more muscle. Also on that note, if you do lose muscle, it's much easier to regain it than it is to gain it in the first place. And that's down to the mind muscle. And that's down to muscle memory, okay? I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. Short and sweet. Please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, be better.